Hello friends, this is Mike from Wright, and this is the explanations video for SAT 2's reading section, passage number 2, question 20. Data in the graph indicate that the greatest difference between per pound profits from fair trade coffee and those from regular coffee occurred during which period? Alright, this is a quantitative information question. It makes reference to the graph. And we're going to answer this question based on the graph. So let's just get our bearings here and think about what the graph is about. We're going to start with the title of the graph. Here, this is a graph of regular coffee profits, and we're comparing those profits, the regular coffee ones, to the profits from fair trade coffee. All right, so that's the title. And now we're going to look for that to happen in the graph. We're going to start with the axes. We're going to think about the x-axis. Now this shows years. Whatever is happening here is happening between the years 2000 and 2008. And then on the y-axis here, this is kind of confusing. It says amount. And it's like amount of what? Like jelly beans? Well, it's the amount of US cents per pound. Now this is money and this is weight. So like money per how much stuff. And here, this is where the title comes really in handy. We're measuring profits. So if we're thinking amount of something, this is going to be the amount of profits that regular coffee makes and fair trade coffee makes. And here again, the title indicates that we want to be comparing regular coffee and fair trade coffee, and that happens in the legend down here. Right? We've got this open circled line that's about fair trade coffee. That's this. These are the profits from fair trade coffee. And then we've got this closed circle line right here that represents the profits from regular coffee. Okay. Back in the annotations video, I recommended that you take a quick look at this graph, enough that you can tell yourself, figure out for yourself what the main story of the graph is. And here, when we did that, we looked at this graph and we thought that the main story of this graph was that fair trade coffee, generally speaking, has higher profits. You know, look at all these points up here, they're super high. Look at all these points down here, they go up and down, but like, you know, they're lower. Right? So the main story that we got from this graph, even before answering the questions, ought to have been fair trade coffee has higher profits. All right, now the question itself is asking about the greatest difference between profits from fair trade coffee and those of regular coffee. So here it's really important to understand that we're asking about the difference. We're not talking about the greatest value that fair trade coffee had. We're not talking about the greatest value that regular coffee had. We're not talking about the greatest increase or decrease in either of them. We're talking about the points in time where the difference between them was at its peak. Right? We're looking for the largest gap between the two. When was fair trade coffee way more profitable than regular coffee? All right, that's what we're looking for. Now, best way to answer these kind of questions, if you understand what they're asking, is to look at the graph, figure out the answer, and find the right answer choice, rather than looking at each of the answer choices. So let's just do that real quick. Here, we're looking at this graph, and we're asking, where is the gap biggest? And it's biggest here, right? It starts off kind of small, then it gets bigger, and then it gets bigger, and then it stays the same, and then it stays the same, and then it gets smaller, and then it gets a little bit bigger, but not as big as this. And then it gets smaller and smaller. So it's biggest between here and here. That's between 2002 and 2004, and that's our right answer, right in B. Now that's the best way to do this question, but it makes sense that you don't fully understand what they're asking. This prompt is pretty complex. So another way of looking at it is to go through each of the answer choices and to think, where does the wrongness or rightness of these answer choices come from? So let's start with answer choice A. We're thinking about the period between 2000 and 2002. Now, you might have answered this question, you might have selected this answer choice because you thought that the period between 2000 and 2002 was the greatest decrease in regular coffee. I think that's like maybe the most likely mistake that you could have made if you're going to guess answer choice A. We're saying that, you know, this is the greatest something. Here, this is the greatest decrease in regular coffee. You know, this stays the same, but like there's no other place in regular coffee's story where it goes down as much as here. But again, we're not looking for the greatest decrease in regular coffee. We're looking for the greatest difference between the two. Right. Answer choice B is our right answer because the years 2002 to 2004 are the years for which the gap between these two lines is biggest. All right. Answer choice C, from 2004 to 2005. Now, I think the way to select this answer choice is either to misread this and think that this is somehow 2005 or that this is 2004, or to think that here is the greatest increase in regular coffee. This is the time when regular coffee's graph goes up the most suddenly. But again, we're not looking for the greatest increase in regular coffee. We're looking for the greatest difference between these two lines. So that's right. Maybe I was also thinking maybe you thought that this period right here is the period during which there was the greatest decrease in the difference, right? This is when regular coffee caught up the most compared to fair trade coffee. So that I think is another reasonable mistake. Although again, it is a mistake because we're not looking for a decrease in difference. We're looking for just a difference. What is the gap between these two? When is it biggest? All right, answer choice D, from 2006 to 2008. What's happening between these years? Well, the gap starts off small, it gets smaller, it's not as small as these. So on the decrease in difference, or sorry, on the greatest difference terms, it's wrong. But in here, maybe I think you could have guessed, you could have answered answer choice D because maybe you were looking for the smallest difference. This is the place on the graph where the difference between the two graphs is lowest. You know, it's smallest. They're closest to each other. But again, we're looking for the greatest difference, not the lowest difference. So there's the wrongness of answer choice D. All right, that's all for this question. I'll see you all in the next one.